Straight ahead on Law and Crime Daily. We're now in verdict watch in the death of Ahmaud Arbery trial.
You can't claim self-defense if you are the unjustified initial aggressor.
We place Roddy Bryant's fate in your hands. We ask you to return a verdict of not guilty on all counts.
Michael Bryant is in Georgia with the latest from the courthouse. And the family attorney for Brian Laundrie reveals his cause of death, more than a month after his remains are found in a Florida reserve. Plus, new details in the deadly Waukesha Holiday Parade crash, why the driver was released from jail just days before the attack. And later,
this is something that I wish never would have happened, but it did, and we can't change that.
Kyle Rittenhouse's first interview after his not guilty verdict in Kenosha. Law and Crime Daily covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everyone to Law and Crime Daily. I'm Brian Buckmeyer along with Terry Austin. We're now in verdict watch in the death of Ahmaud Arbery trial. On Tuesday, the prosecution presented its rebuttal closing argument after defense attorneys argued on behalf of father and son Travis and Gregory McMichael and William Roddy Bryant. All three face charges of malice murder and felony murder in the death of 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery. Travis McMichael shot and killed Arbery in February of 2020 as he was jogging near his Brunswick, Georgia home. McMichael and his father tailed Arbery in a pickup truck and Bryant followed in a separate truck. He recorded the shooting on video. Travis McMichael claimed self-defense and citizen's arrest, a law that has since been repealed and replaced. On Monday, Gregory McMichael's defense attorney presented closing arguments, saying Arbery was not an innocent victim.
Turning Ahmaud Arbery into a victim after the choices that he made does not reflect the reality of what brought Ahmaud Arbery to Satilla Shores in his khaki shorts with no socks to cover his long, dirty toenails. Ahmaud Arbery was not an innocent victim plundering through Larry English's house on February 23rd, just as he wasn't an innocent victim all the other nights, like October 25th, or November 18th, or December 15th, or February 11th. Is he the person responsible for stealing Larry English's expensive boat equipment? I don't know. We don't know. No one investigated that. But can anyone reasonably believe that Ahmaud Arbery was just doing a looky-loo on those nights?
For his part, Brian's attorney argued his client couldn't have stopped the shooting and pleaded with the jury to send him home.
From Mr. Bryant's perspective, when did Roddy Bryant know the McMichaels brought guns? I would submit to you that Mr. Bryant doesn't know that there's a gun until it goes off. Not because it wasn't there, but you see what Mr. Bryant is seeing. When did Roddy Bryant know Travis would shoot Mr. Arbery? I would submit to you he can't know until Mr. Arbery is actually shot. And at that point, what could Roddy Bryant do to stop this tragic shooting?
In its rebuttal, the prosecution disagreed, arguing Bryant played a large role in Arbery's death. Prosecutor Linda Donikowski also said that McMichaels should not have had a right to claim self-defense.
Mr. Bryant played a substantial and necessary part in causing his death. He is responsible for the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. One can use lethal force in self-defense, but only under certain circumstances. You can't claim self-defense if you are the unjustified initial aggressor, meaning if you started it. Who started this? It wasn't Ahmaud Arbery. If you're committing a felony against that person, once again, we're back to our convenience store armed robber. He doesn't get to defend himself against the clerk he's robbing. He doesn't get to claim self-defense. He's committing a felony. In this case, they committed 4 different felonies, including the aggravated assault with a shotgun They started it. They do not get to claim self-defense.
With that, we move into Verdict Watch. Our own Michael Bryant is outside the Glenn County Courthouse now. And Michael, what can you tell us about the jury's deliberation?
Hey, Brian. Yeah, well, here we are now into the 6th hour of deliberation. Not a peep, I believe that's the legal word, not a peep from this jury. No questions, no asked for readback or video. So at this point, we can just assume they're busy working at it. I would expect that we will hear soon from the court as to what the plan is for the evening. If they are close to a decision, perhaps the court would allow them to move on into the night and maybe come to a conclusion. If not, back at it tomorrow morning. And the court's been very flexible in allowing them to do what they want to do. If they want to come back Friday, they can, if not having reached a verdict by then, or Saturday. So that's where that stands. We have learned, though, that now the FBI is involved in the number of agencies protecting this community and planning for post-verdict security. So now you have the FBI, the GBI, which is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the local sheriff's office, local PD. A lot of folks are involved. They're preparing. Hopefully won't need what they're preparing for, but the FBI, again, now involved with all agencies in keeping this thing safe.
All right, Michael, thank you for the update. Of course, we're hoping that everyone stays safe. Joining us today is retired detective and SWAT officer Lisa Lockwood and Terry Austin. Lisa, 3 sets of defense attorneys and a prosecutor have laid out reasonable and probable suspicion for citizen's arrest. Do you see a citizen's arrest here?
I don't, because the criteria was not met regarding seeing an actual crime in progress. They had information that they believed. They saw him on camera. Travis said he saw him go into the building at one point and thought he had a gun. A gun was inferred. But we don't have a direct matchup. Just because you see somebody or you saw video footage and to make an assumption a while later that this is the same individual, there was still no crime. If anything, it was trespassing. And I'm not even sure if they brought up the fact that there's a house under construction with no locks, free access. And if there were no signs saying no trespassing, he has every right to be there. And if he was there and there were signs there, then it's a misdemeanor. And the fact is, in this particular case, they were pursuing somebody who they believed did something.
Absolutely. Now, Terry, the case has been given to the jury, and as Michael said, they could decide to deliberate late on Wednesday or even on Saturday. Can you guess when we may get a verdict in this case?
I actually think we might get a verdict before the holiday. The jury is working very hard. They worked through lunch today, and as we understand, they were really very motivated and anxious to get the case, to get the evidence, to start their deliberations. And they're showing some very serious signs. The fact that they worked through lunch means we want to get this done. And there's a lot of evidence. They have all of the videos to look through, and they're going to do that methodically, I believe. And don't forget, of course, there are 9 counts, 3 defendants, so they have to get through all of those counts to make a correct determination about each of the defendants. So I expect they'll do that. I expect they'll stay late. And I do think they want to get out before the holiday, which means Wednesday night.
Yeah, I can't imagine they want to come back on Friday with a stomach full of turkey when they can be shopping for Black Friday. Michael, what was the reaction outside the court when the case was given to the jury?
You know, I think it was a little bit of relief, because the closing arguments stretched into what was 2 days. Then there were the instructions, and then the real work began by this jury. So a little bit of relief, a little bit of anxiety. There is a prayer vigil at about 5:30 tonight here in the square just outside the courthouse. So it is described as a non-denominational, just to help everybody heal and get through this very difficult process as the jury continues to deliberate.
Well, thank you, Michael. Keep up with the great reporting and stay safe while you're out there. Still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, the deadly Waukesha Parade crash. We take a closer look at the driver's past criminal record. But first, more than a month after his remains were discovered, we now know Brian Laundrie's cause of death. What the Laundrie family attorney told Law and Crime Network after the break. It was the video that shocked the nation. An unarmed black jogger, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery, gunned down in broad daylight. The 3 men charged will now stand trial. For live gavel-to-gavel coverage of the trial, subscribe to Law and Crime on YouTubeTV today. Welcome back to Law and Crime Daily. Brian Laundrie's cause of death revealed to be suicide by gunshot wound to the head. The Laundrie family attorney confirmed the news to Law and Crime Daily on Tuesday. In a statement, Steve Berlino said, quote, Chris and Roberta Laundrie have been informed that the cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head and the manner of death was suicide. Chris and Roberta are still mourning the loss of their son and are hopeful that these findings bring closures to both families. This revelation comes months after Laundrie and fiancée Gabby Petito separately went missing. Petito's case took the nation by storm after she was reported missing on September 11th. Ahead of that, Petito was last seen alive in late August near Yellowstone National Park while on a road trip with Laundrie. Laundrie returned to his family home in Florida at the start of September, just days after Petito went missing. Laundrie's disappearance sparked a nationwide manhunt for the missing fugitive. Petito's body was found near Yellowstone in mid-September. Her cause of death was ruled to be a homicide by strangulation. In late October, Laundrie's remains were found in a Florida reserve where he told family members he went hiking. The area had been covered in water for some time, making the cause of death difficult to determine. His remains were later sent to an anthropologist for further examination. Let's bring back retired SWAT officer and detective Lisa Lockwood and Terry Austin. Lisa, as a retired detective, what are you focused on when you see the medical exam in determining Laundrie's final moments?
So we're going to look at the path. Now that we know it was a gunshot wound, we're going to look at the direction, the actual exit wound, entry wound. Was the shot from the bottom of the mandible? Was it in the mouth? Was the exit out the back of the skull? Right side to left side usually is done in the temple to guarantee that you die with most suicide victims. And was he right-handed or left-handed? So all of that is going to preclude somebody actually murdering him out there. And it is going to be the path of travel of the bullet, how many wounds, how many bullets, and we have our answer. So I believe that's why we know it was suicide.
Interesting. Thank you for breaking that down, Lisa. Now, Terry, it seems like the story of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie is all but done. Is this how you thought the story would have ended?
Brian, this is not how I thought the story would end. There were many people who were speculating that he committed suicide. I did not think he would do that. I thought he was trying to escape. Remember, Gabby Petito's body was found on September 19th, and there's no question that most of the evidence is pointing to the fact that he is responsible. He's the last person to be seen with her, and the fact that he disappeared is a consciousness of guilt and that he was trying to escape prosecution for the potential murder of Gabby Petito. So I kind of think that, or I thought that his parents had helped him and that he had escaped. But now that we have found his body and that it was suicide, clearly he, decided to take that route.
Interesting. Yep, we have all the facts there, and that seems to be the end of the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie saga. Thank you both. Coming up on Law and Crime Daily, Kyle Rittenhouse sits down for his first interview just days after his acquittal in the Kenosha shootings. Plus, fallout from the deadly Waukesha Holiday Parade crash. Why Wisconsin officials say the driver's bond was inappropriately low. Welcome back to Law and Crime Daily. The Milwaukee County District Attorney says bail was inappropriately low for the man officials say rammed his SUV into a holiday parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin. 39-year-old Darrell Brooks faces 5 counts of first-degree intentional homicide after crashing his vehicle into the parade on Sunday. 5 people were killed and more than 40 others injured. At the time, Brooks was driving away from a domestic disturbance incident. All this comes just 5 days after Brooks was released from the Waukesha County Jail with no charges. This comes after he posted a $1,000 bail several weeks prior in a case where officials say he ran over the mother of his child at a gas station. Before that, he was accused of shooting his nephew in July of 2020. But scheduling conflicts prevented his right to a speedy trial. His bail was reduced to $500 in that case. The Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office says an internal review is now being conducted on the decision to lower bail to $1,000. Back to break down this tragedy is retired SWAT officer and detective Lisa Lockwood and Terry Austin. Lisa, Brooks being released on low bail, the charges he was facing has created an argument that the prosecution failed in reducing the bail. Could these deaths have been avoided?
100% yes. We have somebody who is a violent offender who has already had a charge regarding striking the mother of his child with his vehicle. She was hospitalized for it, only stayed in jail for 9 days, and then was released on a $1,000 bond. And now later on, we find out right before the parade plow through that he was actually involved in a domestic incident with a knife. So a lot of this could have been avoided. Violent offenders need to stay behind bars as their cases go through, or offer a very high bond amount to make sure that people are protected. And I think this could have been avoided.
Now, Terry, the DA's office is being audited after this death. It seems that Brooks' speedy trial right was what caused the reduction in bail. Do you think this could be a reason the DA could or should step down?
Well, it depends on the results of that audit. Clearly, if it finds out that the DA is responsible, clearly he could have to step down just to, save the whole department. The fact is there were 2 incidents prior to this Christmas parade incident where the bail was extremely low, where he attacked his ex-wife with a car, where he attacked his nephew. Those are violent crimes, like Lisa said. And with those types of crimes, your bail should not be $1,000 or $500, and you should be able to have a speedy trial. So hopefully the audit will show some results and show some improvement in what's going on in the DA's office.
All right, as that audit and the investigation into this case continues, we'll make sure to give you those updates here on Law and Crime Daily. When we come back, more news out of Wisconsin with Kyle Rittenhouse's first interview post-acquittal. What the 18-year-old says his plans are now that he is free of all charges. Welcome back. Kyle Rittenhouse is speaking out for his first interview since his acquittal. And Jeanette Levy is here with what Rittenhouse has to say. And Jeanette?
Brian, this was an interview with Tucker Carlson of Fox News, and Fox News's opinion hosts were incredibly supportive of Kyle Rittenhouse throughout his trial. Now, this interview took place over the weekend, and it will be part of a longer documentary produced by Tucker Carlson. Rittenhouse recounted why he says he went to Kenosha that night in August of 2020 and what happened leading up to his shooting 3 men, killing 2 of them. Rittenhouse said even though he seems calm, he says he is freaking out inside. He also said he feels he's been defamed by several people. His mother singled out then presidential candidate Joe Biden.
I don't think I would be able to go out and get a job and not have to deal with harassment, but I'm at a place now to where I have to have people with me because people want to kill me just because I defended myself, and they're too ignorant to look at the facts of what happened.
Now, Rittenhouse said that he wants to continue studying nursing at Arizona State University and possibly study law. Get that. He said he also wants to live a quiet, normal life and will likely move away from the Midwest. Brian?
Thanks, Anjanette. Lisa, your reaction to Rittenhouse's words after being acquitted?
Just incredible. I mean, as far as the interview went, I think the thing that stood out most to me was when he made the assertion that, listen, I support BLM. I am not racist. There was nothing found in his background to attach him to any type of racially motivated right-wing groups. And when he made the statement, he didn't think the trial was so much about him. It was more about the law and procedure of self-defense being on trial. Very, very great distinction.
Yeah, I heard that as well, and I agree. Great distinction in that. Terry, acquitted in a court of law, but probably still on trial in the court of public opinion. What do you think is next for Rittenhouse?
Well, it looks like with that recent appearance on Tucker Carlson, he is definitely trying to elevate his profile. He's creating a brand. He's supported by social media, and he wants to be this sort of peaceful hero where he's helping people. He's going to be a nurse. He's going to go into medicine, but he still wants to carry a gun and protect Second Amendment rights. So it's sort of this dichotomy between helping people and hurting people.
Hey, maybe politics is in his future as well. You never know. And Jeanette, what did Kyle Rittenhouse have to say about politics?
You know, he said that he was upset that his case had been, so polarized and so politicized, not only by those on the left, but also on the right. So he didn't really go into what his politics may be, but he certainly said that he felt that it had been used by people on both sides of the political spectrum. And he also talked about lawyers who used to represent him, Al Lynn Wood, who we all know, and John Pierce. And he said basically they were using him to raise money and using him to further an agenda. And you'll recall that trip to Florida where he appeared in a bar with members of the Proud Boys. And after that happened, his mother actually fired John Pierce as his lawyer. Mark Richards told us last week he had told Kyle Rittenhouse at that time if that ever happened again, he would no longer be a part of his defense team. Brian?
Thanks, Angela. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out because the raising of funds for a client's case, that is a very precarious situation for many defense attorneys. So maybe Kyle Rittenhouse, this is not the last we're going to hear about him. Maybe we're not going to hear about him as a defendant in a criminal case defending himself. Maybe we're going to hear about these lawyers. Maybe this is going to be a case where we start to hear that these lawyers misuse this 18-year-old to raise money for their own issues. Of course, if we hear about that, we'll be here at Law and Crime Daily as that unfolds. Terry, Lisa, and Jeanette, thank you as always. And of course, to our viewers, thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We will see you next time as we discuss justice in America.